Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of HomoFOMO. We are not a spoiler-free podcast, but we're not cruel. So if you hate spoilers, know there is a strong potential we could reveal info about the films we discuss that could reveal major plot twists or giveaway endings. You've been warned. Now we hope you enjoy the episode. Howdy, yo. Howdy, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the long-forgotten podcast, HomoFOMO.
Hey, pew, 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 pew.
A podcast where me and Kai say hello.
Hello.
Talk about movies, how they're queer and how they could be queer, and sometimes we talk a little bit about other stuff, but it's mostly queer and it's mostly movie-centered.
Yeah.
Today is one of those episodes where we're going to talk about other stuff.
Yes, it is.
Misc, as I like to call it.
Oh, yes. Miscellaneous.
Yes, misc. Because today we got in a whole discussion. I'm talking a whole ass discussion about a random tweet that was twote, first by a Mr. Kai, which is basically like a Twitter tag that's 10 movies to know me. I'll be very clear, not 10 of my favorite movies, 10 movies to know me.
An important distinction.
Very important distinction. So we're going to be going through this list and talking about why these movies say something about us or for us.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get deep. Theses will be had.
This was born out of me being very defensive about Donnie Darko.
Can't wait to get to that part.
And I can't wait for me to try and like justify and or explain myself in any way. It's going to be a time. By the end of this, I might cry. We don't know.
Vote now on your phones.
We'll be taking that into consideration. Your votes matter. All right, so without further ado, HomoFOMO, 10 movies to know us.
Yeah. All right.
So Kai, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, I do. And I'm actually might have a hard time reiterating what I iterated previously.
About Assassination Nation.
Yeah, so Assassination Nation, yeah.
Sorry, we're doing structure on the fly. Why don't we go through, instead of you having to go in and explain this whole complicated thing about Assassination Nation, just tell us what are your 10 movies that know you.
Okay, so 1, Assassination Nation. 2, Star Wars The Force Awakens. 3, Mad Max Fury Road. 4, Venom. 5, Anastasia. 6, Addams Family Values. 7, She's the Man.
You got it.
8, Power Rangers 2017. 9, Charlie's Angels 2019. And 10, Mulan. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm thinking we don't have to do it in order.
Okay.
If you feel like you're more ready to speak on one film than another, but I am going to trust you to keep track of the movies you've already talked about.
I will obviously be able to do that. I have an impeccable memory.
And you can also remember for me as well.
Yes, I will.
Great. So tell us what number this movie is on your list and what movie it is and why it says something about you.
Okay, I know you gave me an option of flopping around my list. I do think I have to go in chronological order.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand.
Maybe I should start from bottom to top.
Ooh. He could do it.
Ooh.
He could do it, folks.
He's gonna do it. I'm gonna start with Mulan and work my way up to Assassination Nation.
Let's go.
Okay, so as y'all may know, Mulan came out in the 90s, a iconic Disney flick. What you may also know is that movie is way more queer than Disney meant it to be.
I love it when Disney makes those mistakes.
It just, a mistake for them and a great blessing for us.
Precisely.
So, obviously, the song, I'll Make a Man Out of You, very relevant to me as a trans boy. That's love. Who needs testosterone, when you can be swift as a coursing river? So testosterone is fake. All you need
is a coursing river.
That's true.
Okay.
I obviously got a lot of feelings about Mulan's complete shucking of cultural norms of being a woman, of wanting to save the whole ass country in the place of her father, whom she loved dearly. Can't relate. But what I did relate to, is the love affair with Shang. So Shang is a character whose sexuality is never stated, but it is uber clear that he gets the feels for Ping, Mulan's alias as a man, ever before it's revealed that Mulan is a cis woman wearing men's clothing.
What could that mean, I wonder?
Bicon alert.
That was almost, we almost just made a jingle for that.
Yes.
We'll work on it.
Yes, we'll workshop it. So having a bicon love interest while being... Oh, fuck, I just realized something about myself.
Uh-oh.
So something I always wanted, and, like, sorry to get real on you listeners, all 5 of you.
Hey, 6.
6, okay. Something I've always wanted in a relationship is someone who did not love me because of my gender.
Wow.
And I wanted that even when I was identifying as a cis girl. Like, when I was out there dating, all I wanted for a partner was to tell me that no matter what my body looked like, that they would love me. And who exemplifies that more than our power couple, Shang and Mulan?
Wow, so right.
Fucking what I wouldn't give to have a love so pure that it's like, I don't care about your parts. All I've seen of you is armor. But that sweat... Ooh, baby, the work you put into defending China, what I wouldn't give.
Wow.
The purest love.
It is pure, you're right.
So, love that
nationalistic, though, maybe?
Unintentionally patriotic.
Okay, yeah.
But a love that transcends gender.
Love that.
That's what Mulan means to me.
Right. Yeah, okay, so thoughts, reflections on Mulan for me. I love that you picked this movie as one of the movies to know you, because... This was my favorite Disney movie growing up.
Thank God.
100% without a doubt. I used to write on my arm fake Chinese symbols.
Oh my God!
And pretend I was Mulan. I think, to me, I have to say that this movie meant so much to see a quote-unquote princess. Yeah. I don't care what anyone says. Mulan is a princess, a Disney princess. Or a Disney prince.
Yeah, who's to say?
We're living.
We are.
Disney royalty.
We sure are.
Mulan's like gender fluid. We don't know.
True.
But like to see somebody who was coded as feminine.
Yeah.
Have more purpose than to get married.
Yeah.
That was in a very like cis white feminist perspective really important.
Yeah.
Like
radical.
Yeah, it was so, and so I didn't even know I was hungry for that at age 5, but I was starving for that at age 5.
As it turns out.
Yeah, so that on its own carried me very far. Yeah. But then as I got older and did understand the queer, well, I want to say subtext, but honestly it's more like overtext.
Text.
It's more just text.
The text.
It's iconic.
Mm-hmm.
It's seriously iconic and definitely like a queer trailblazing Disney film.
90s Disney, how'd you do it?
How did you do it? Listen, the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
What an era.
The 90s got away with a lot.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Okay, so.
Okay, next up.
Next up on your list.
Now, next up is a movie I'm gonna guess that no one saw, except for
me and you.
Yeah, me and you. And it was Charlie's Angels 2019, starring Kirsten Stewart.
Loved it.
And Naomi Campbell. And another British babe that I don't know the name of.
Not that Naomi Campbell, though.
No.
Yeah, different Naomi Campbell.
Oh, wait, no, you're making me question it. If she has a different last name. The pink Power Ranger from Power Rangers 2017, which we will get to, aka Jasmine from the Aladdin remake.
We're gonna Google it right now, and then I'll fix it in editing. Hold on. Naomi Scott would be her name.
Fuck.
So it's okay. So Not that Naomi Campbell, that Naomi Scott.
That Naomi Scott,
Yeah.
though. So, Charlie's Angels was a movie I grew up with, the original 2000 version.
Drew
and then,
Barrymore.
yes, Drew Barrymore, Lucy Liu, and Cameron Diaz. Immediately followed in 2003 by Charlie's Angels Full Throttle with the same trilogy cast, minus Bill Murray.
Thank you.
Love that choice.
We love to cut a toxic man out.
We do. Now, the thing about those movies, along with similar action films where women were objectified by the male gaze beyond belief, is Tiny Kai didn't really understand why he felt things about those ladies in tight outfits.
Nuance. Who needs it?
Never. But growing up, I now realize that I had feelings for ladies.
To quote you directly, girl hot.
Girl hot!
Yeah.
Girl hot. Now, those movies, while steeped, marinated in the male gaze.
Nice brine.
Nice, Brian. Still, to this day, for me, possibly because of nostalgia, hold up. Lots of corny violence.
Love that.
Yeah, lots of fun tricks and it just witty back and forth and friendship. Now, while that's good, what's better is the female gaze.
The female gaze.
The female gaze TM. Now, Elizabeth Banks.
I love her.
Yes, Elizabeth Banks directed this film, the Charlie's Angels 2019 version.
They better let her direct more. Sorry, just a caveat there. I'm just hoping.
It's a movie with the idea of what men want completely removed.
Oh, imagine.
What a world. So you get Kirsten Stewart in just these beautiful outfits that don't show a hint of like a push-up bra.
Maybe the first scene.
Oh, you're right.
Because she's so, okay, sorry, not to hijack your description,
hit
but
me.
like, I love the first scene of this movie where Kristen Stewart is so blatantly playing into all of the things the movie then later subverts.
Correct.
Love it so much.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic scene. It's the first scene, so you don't really have to worry about spoiling it.
Yeah.
But, like, her just playing this, like, ditzy minx who's, like, seems, like, such on the surface, like, feminist, but will ultimately, like, give in to what a man wants, is obviously completely subverted by the fact that she kicks his whole ass and gets him arrested. So that's...
We stand.
Yes. So that's really fun. And just in general, that whole movie speaks to me because I love action films. I love, like, dumb action, but this movie does something that so few else do, in which, like, women are 100% in charge. Things do go their way, and they don't have to use quote-unquote feminine wiles. Like, they don't have to, like...
Still don't know how to get me some feminine wiles.
They don't know... That'd be a great drag name.
Oh, feminine wiles?
Okay, TM.
Oh
Trademarked for me.
Okay.
But like they don't have to seduce men. They don't have to take off their clothes or wear like exposing clothing. At most, they'll flirt with a man before punching him in the face.
Oh.
And even then, there's so much more emphasis on friendship.
Right.
Like, at one point, Kirsten Stewart's character is put in mortal peril, and a character that was previously very annoyed with her through the course of the movie has become very close with her, and she cries.
Love that scene. I absolutely just love that scene.
Yeah. So I think that taking what I loved as a child, which was just fun action and friendship among women, beautiful women, and then
Pretty ladies.
but like obviously I don't just stand the rights of women I'm attracted to. It's just a happy coincidence that this movie was made for queer people.
Yeah.
Kirsten Stewart. And then just like the tallest British babe who is also in that movie. Anyway, so taking what I loved as a child, which was fun action films, and then putting it with what I like as an adult, which is like actually empowered women for women by women's standards, is such a wonderful feeling to watch that movie. Just to be like, oh, I don't feel dirty.
So true. Okay, yeah. So thoughts and reflections on Charlie's Angels 2019. First of all, I love that my dog chimed in, and I hope you can hear her in the background. She is a feminist icon and the voice of a generation. But not too much to add to that. Just the fact that I too saw this movie with you, like I said, and I full-heartedly agree with everything. And it is nice to have a respite from the male gaze. And I did feel like, did this movie score a 100% free of male gaze, no traps of like they were. What I'm trying to say is they were definitely like conventionally attractive women in the lead roles.
Yep, they were thin.
They were all thin. Two were people of color though, which
That's
was
true.
great. Kristen was the only white one.
Yep.
So that was really great. Kristen, only queer one? Question mark. We
Who's
don't
to say?
know.
Her character is the only one coded as queer.
Yeah. As evident in her biting her knuckle when looking at that girl at the gym, which was a moment I will never forget.
So true.
But yeah, I totally understand how this movie aligns with like your safe places.
Yeah.
100%.
And isn't that what we want?
That is what we want.
Yeah.
All right.
All
So,
right.
next on your list.
Next up is a movie also starring Naomi Scott.
We love Naomi Scott. We love not Naomi Campbell.
Fuck. So it is Power Rangers 2017, a movie that so few people saw to their detriment.
Tell us about it.
Now, as you may know, Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers specifically, was originally a Japanese show about, you know, mostly, if not all men fighting super villains. This was then turned into an American show where they cast American actors, and were a little bit on the nose about who got which color.
Yes, they were.
Painful.
Very painful.
Painful. But still meant a lot to a lot of children.
Bryan Cranston.
Yes. One of the children I'm referencing,
One of the
obviously.
children in Power Rangers, Bryan Cranston. Whatever happened to him?
Oh,
Man.
where are they now?
Where are they now?
Anyway, to speed it up a bit, this movie, Power Rangers 2017, is a retake on that, in which they keep the titular names of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They keep, the names Billy, Jason, Trini, Jason. I already said Jason, didn't I?
You might have.
Zach, and Kim.
Okay.
Kimberly.
Okay.
So they keep those names, but they change a lot. And it's so good. This movie has no right to be this good. Have you seen this movie?
I still haven't seen this movie, but I know how much you love it.
It's gonna change. We're gonna get you to watch it. Because you're gonna have the same opinion, and at the very least you're gonna say, this movie had no right to be this good.
Oh, wow.
Like, the
No right. No right.
directorially.
Directorially, sure.
Yeah, the camera work
Okay.
and such. You're gonna be like, they didn't have to go this hard, surely.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so they change a lot. Jason is no longer like the most popular guy in school. He's played by Dante Montgomery, who is like a traditionally handsome white lad. But he plays a guy who was star of the football team, and as part of a prank, him and some of his classmates decide to usher in cows to the stadium, the football stadium that they play in.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
And in running away from the cops, he gets into a car accident that fucks up his leg, and he ends up in pretty much a permanent detention for the school year, or maybe even the summer.
Oh, no.
But he has to go to weekend detention.
Oh, no.
Where
no
he-
weekend detention.
I know, where he meets some of our other characters. Kimberly was once a cheerleader. She did something that we don't know about, but we know that involved punching a man named Ty Fleming and him losing his tooth.
And we know he deserved it.
You'd be surprised.
Wow.
So anyway, Kimberly, the cheerleader, the Pink Ranger, someone who eventually becomes the Pink Ranger, she loses all of her friends and has to start from scratch because she's been completely excommunicated from her social group for a reason we don't know.
I'm already getting a hint of why this movie reflects you, and I'm feeling like the ragtag team is once again.
You're not wrong!
Okay.
You're not wrong. So I cannot summarize each of these characters without giving away a lot, so I'll just try... It's funny because these are my 3 favorite characters that I haven't talked about. I'll do a quick quick intro. So Zach is the Black Power Ranger. He's played by an Asian man named Ludi Lin, an incredibly attractive man.
Ooh.
And he is a rebel who never goes to school, but you learn that his mother is sick, and he spends almost all of his time nursing her to health.
Oh.
Um,
Parentification, look it up.
Yeah. Then there's Billy, who is played by a black man. He is autistic, incredibly intelligent, and so attached to his new group of friends because he's never really had a solid group of friends before. And then finally Trini, she is an outcast. She's always the new girl at school. She actively avoids socializing
because relatable content.
She's the Yellow Ranger, and it's because she has a secret, which we learn that she is gay.
Relatable content.
Yes. So each of these characters kind of embodies a part of myself that I want. Like, Jason really embodies the leader that I want to be, someone who's incredibly empathetic but very willing to kick ass for the people he loves.
Love that.
I would say Trini, like, she embodies a part of myself where, like, I isolate and avoid all to, like, hide something I have shame over and, like, actively sabotage the relationships in my life in order to...
Deep cut.
Yeah.
Wow.
In order to, I don't even know what, just to feel like I can't disappoint anyone if there's no one in my life.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to leave.
Too real, button.
Too real.
Zach is a very outgoing character considering how much he's going through, and he's also an incredibly emotional character.
Right.
He's willing to cry, he's willing to bare his soul, he wants to get closer to this group of friends, and he's actually the first person to pick up on the fact that Trini is gay. Like,
of course.
Yes.
He knows.
Billy being an autistic and emotional individual, I think that character does an incredible job of showing that you can be the heart of the group without being an autistic stereotype of a non-feeling robot. He's so emotionally attached and like striving for this connection with his friends that you can't apply classic autistic stereotypes to him, really. He's a genius, which you can obviously say is a stereotype, but it's just played really well. The fact that he's the heart of the team is so beautiful, and then everyone cares for him more. Like, that's what pulls them together. I'll say that I don't necessarily connect that much with Kimberly, but do you want me to spoil what she did? Like,
throw out a spoiler? Yes.
Spoiler warning. She was sent a nude or semi-nude photograph by one of her friends who was going to send it to her boyfriend to impress him. She sends this photo to Kimberly to be like, hey, do I look good? And Kimberly sends this nude photograph to a boy to shit talk this girl. Yeah.
Gasp.
So Kimberly has to come to a very legitimate conclusion of, I did something deeply fucked up and wrong, but I still have to keep on living. And I can't just sit in a hole and avoid that or feel like I'm the victim. I have to own that and still, move on with my life and eventually become something that does good in the world.
Wow. Which is such a relevant human story.
Yeah.
Because we all end up doing something similar, if not worse.
Yeah.
And then what do you do in the aftermath of that?
Yeah. So what you may have noticed is I described everything about the characters and almost nothing about the plot.
I did notice that, and I was going to say, is this more of a character-driven flick for you?
It 100% is.
Gotcha.
The plot itself is fun. Elizabeth Banks plays a great character, a great villain. And it's campy and fun, and it brings back a lot of memories for people who want the nostalgia of the original Power Rangers. But that doesn't change the fact that the way that they've reworked these characters is just so incredible and meaningful. And for me, Found Family is just the peak, the ultimate of what I want from my cinema.
Right. Okay. All right. So
that was a lot.
I mean, when you have to get into the depth of characters in order for it to be cohesive and understandable, though.
Yes.
We allow time to be spent on this. And I don't want us to rush through this. I find long podcasts are my favorite podcasts, and I want to know exactly why you feel this way about the film. So go off. Thoughts and reflections upon this.
Yeah.
One, Elizabeth Banks, yet again. Here she comes.
Yes.
She didn't direct this film or write it, but she was in it,
Yeah.
and that's not a coincidence.
She plays the best campy villain you could ever ask for.
An amazing light in this dark, dark world.
So
Elizabeth Banks. One of the least problematic white feminists that exists. So
Damn.
we stand.
Okay.
Also, just to elaborate on the whole like idea of found family, just for anyone who doesn't understand that concept.
Oh, yeah.
It's so important to people who are queer, who maybe didn't get the support and acceptance from their blood family, to just like know that there's hope and acceptance out there and family out there, and you don't have to be like blood related. That's such a weird concept.
Yeah, the terms you'll find are chosen family and found family over like bio family or like blood relatives.
Precisely. Who likes their blood relatives anyway?
And yeah, I think that's obviously something you're going to see as a common theme in the works I really like, because speaking even a little bit to like what I had to say about Mulan, when you come out to homophobic family members or transphobic family members, it's very painful to realize how conditional their love, quote unquote, is. Yeah, it's extremmed painful to know exactly the axis on which they're willing to accept, love, house you. Whereas chosen and found family are a concept that represents the exact opposite, which is to love you unconditionally, to have theoretically no reason to really be there for you other than choosing you, other than wanting you for you.
Right. And there's something that I hope I'll remember this for when you talk about Fury Road. Something that you said that was so beautiful that illustrated that point even further. But till then, she's the man.
She's the man. Now, for those of you that don't know, She's the Man is a wonderful flick starring Amanda Bynes and Channing Tatum.
Woo.
Yeah. It specifically is a retelling of Twelfth Night, which is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays.
Kai is a bit of a Shakespeare head.
Yeah, I am an absolute Shakespeare head. Just a complete nut over here for the man.
We love a good Shakespeare.
We stan.
I love a Shakespeare.
Yes, we stan Billy. Shout out to that Sky Sweetnam song from the 2000s.
Ooh, Sky Sweetnam.
Oh boy. Now, She's the Man was a movie that I watched so much as a child. And
big sleepover film.
Yes, that was a big sleepover film next to like Cinderella Story and John Tucker Must Die.
Oh.
Yeah, both very good.
God.
In my opinion.
Such a simple time.
So true. But She's the Man is the story of a girl who wants to participate in men's soccer because a women's soccer team that she's on is shut down. So Amanda Bynes' character, Viola, pretends to be her twin brother at a private school he's going to called Illyria. And while her brother, her real twin brother, Sebastian, is off in England doing music things, she is training to be at the same caliber as male soccer players with the help of Channing Tatum's character, Duke, in which they fall in love.
And a bisexual icon, Channing Tatum.
Yes. Now, you may have recognized that this is very similar to the Mulan story.
It is quite similar.
Of a woman just dressing up as a man and then a man falling in love with him.
Oh, it's almost Mulan. Oh, there's Mulan 12th Night.
Yes.
Wow.
So the thing about that is, again, being a trans boy, I felt very represented by this film in ways I didn't even understand until recently. Again, a love and a crush that transcends gender, and it would be a lie to say I did not love Channing Tatum.
A bisexual icon.
Yes, have and always will stan Channing Tatum. It's also just an incredibly funny film.
It is really funny. Amanda Bynes is such an underrated comedic actress.
So true. She's so wonderful in that film, and just the Shakespearean mishaps and drama of it all.
It's very vaudevillian almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
But obviously Viola is a character that, once again, like Mulan, shakes the norm of what's expected to her in literally every way she can in the arc of this film, and just completely rejects womanhood and the confines it presents.
Yeah.
I truly love that. That's obviously a film that is going to stick with me when I want so badly to shed the woman label as a child and want to like get into my chrysalis and be a boy and be loved by a boy who is Channing Tatum.
Which is, hey, that's a dream we all can relate to. We all want to be loved by Channing Tatum at some point.
We do.
I also, okay, so just a quick thought and reflection.
Yeah.
The girl who develops a crush on Sebastian, aka Viola.
Yes, Olivia.
Feel like I get gay energy from that whole scenario.
That's another thing, is Olivia definitely could have been in love with Viola.
I 100% think that, and though that was never put into any, I don't even think it was really that suggested in the film. I read into it that way.
Oh, that's completely valid. Twelfth
Yeah.
Night really lends itself to that narrative.
Well, Shakespeare was gay, so
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Thanks.
Okay, so next on the list.
Next on the list, we have 6 Addams
Family
values.
Woo! I'm
Now-
so excited to talk about this.
Okay, now Addams Family, of course, we're talking the one with like Angelica Houston as Morticia Addams. The first Addams Family movie, obviously great because it establishes perfect actors playing their perfect roles, in my opinion. Actually, that's not true. Pugsley could have been better.
Pugsley could always be better, but it's fine.
Yes. But even so, I will say the first movie has very weak legs to stand on in terms of plot. It's incredibly character and comedy driven. And for those of you who don't remember that first Addams Family movie with Christopher Lloyd playing Fester, the whole plot is that he doesn't remember he's Fester and that his fake mother is shaking down the family for money.
Oh my god, that's right too. That was so bad.
Very bad. Now, while I of course have a problem with the trope of like a manipulative woman being the problem behind everything,
Which was another trope in another Addams Family movie.
we cannot deny the power of Joan Cusack as Debbie.
We can't.
Addams Family Values presents this fucked up like Black Widow who the audience loves and loves to hate.
Oh my god, I love Joan Cusack and I love to hate Joan Cusack.
She is such a wonderful actress. She just eats up this part, makes a meal of it. And the great irony at the end is, of course, that the Addams Family would have loved and accepted her as she was, not as she was pretending to be.
Oh god, yeah. Which I feel like I know where you're going with this.
You'd think.
The Addams Family, queer icons.
I mean, they are.
And very accepting
Of just about anything.
of just about anything.
Now, what I'm actually gonna surprise you here. It's not the Debbie arc that really gets me about this movie. It is one of the first scenes. So, as you might remember, Morticia Addams is pregnant.
Oh, true.
And she's...
To the mustachioed baby.
Yes,
Yeah.
she is about to have a child. And after giving birth in the waiting room, Pugsley, Wednesday, and another girl are arguing.
I remember this.
Are arguing about how babies are made, and there's an argument between Wednesday and Pugsley about it, whether or not it's going to be a girl or a boy. And when Gomez is asked, he just replies, "It's an Addams."
Oh!
Non-binary icon.
Mustachioed baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pubert, a non-binary icon. And the whole movie, obviously, any Addams Family movie is going to show you what I want from that film, which is like a goth, cheery, accepting family that loves you no matter what.
Precisely.
And also in that movie, when Pubert gets sick and gets blonde hair and a cheery disposition,
Horrendous.
the family is completely willing to accept them to their own begrudging, like, just dread. Fucking Morticia reads them Cat in the Hat and is so upset when the cat doesn't die at the end.
Ah,
But it's all for Pubert.
for Pubert.
It's what Pubert wants in his sick state.
And so thoughts and reflections on this, I have so many. But they can all be encapsulated in this, is that I too love this movie for exactly the same reason of showing, so rarely do we get this, showing a family that puts the best interest of their child before everything else. Like, their child comes first, no matter how that child comes to them, whether it be cheery disposition, blonde Pubert, or mustachioed Pubert. It is okay 100% because they're real parents. I feel like I've never seen parents represented so positively in my entire movie, and I've watched a lot of movies, and I have never seen a family that I have loved more than the Addams family.
I would love to be adopted into that family.
We would all.
Yeah, and on that note, I completely plan on getting a Morticia and Gomez Addams tattoo.
The only heterosexual couple that we stand.
See, you say this, but the next movie, Anastasia.
What?
The next movie that is on my list is Anastasia.
Oh, I thought you were like, she comes into the Addams family. Right. The next movie.
That would be quite a crossover.
How does that work? No. Okay, so the next movie, Anastasia.
So, Anastasia is a movie I obviously grew up with, and the music, how could you be more obsessed with it?
I don't remember it at all. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
The look on my face.
I wish there was a way I could convey it to you, but there are no words.
Pure disappointment.
Oh, so sad.
I kind of want to sing it stuff for you, but not recorded.
You have to now. You said it out loud, now you have to do it.
Oh, you really don't remember any of the music?
I'm so sorry I don't remember one song.
Once upon a December, things my heart used to know.
Yes.
Things I yearn to remember. Really, none of this is ringing a bell?
I'm just happy you did it.
Okay. So that movie has music in it that just sticks with you your whole life, I thought.
So he thought.
So I thought.
But then he met me, the person who has the memory of a goldfish.
Yes. Once again, this movie shows a girl who is not loved and not given any breaks, but still has an unbreakable spirit.
Oh.
In the face where she should be begging for money and any opportunities possible, she is not grateful to be given things she doesn't want and refuses to compromise.
Wow.
So Anastasia, of course, in this plot, is the lost princess of Russia after her father, Alexander the Tsar of Russia, is overthrown. And it is rumored that she escaped with her grandmother. But in this movie, she's fallen off a train. She's hit her head so hard she can't remember who she is. She's taken to an orphanage.
That's a concussion.
Yes. She's taken to an orphanage and raised as Anya until she reaches the age of 18, in which she ages out and is given a job at a fish market. So
respectable job as somebody who comes from a fishing village.
Well, it doesn't matter because she doesn't want it, so she doesn't take it.
How dare she?
No, she's not. She's not only ungrateful. She spits in the face of opportunity that isn't what she wants.
I spit.
Now, granted, what she wants is family, and that's understandable being raised in a orphanage, like a foster care system, essentially.
Schema there.
But despite that, she's just unrelenting in her drive. She makes her way to St. Petersburg because it's a massive hub. She knows that her family is in Paris because the only thing she was left with was a necklace that says "Forever in Paris." Yeah,
so romantic.
Yeah, so she heads to St. Petersburg in order to get a train or whatever it may be in order to get to Paris to see if she can find her family. Now, granted, this is not an expedition I would go on. I care not for many of my blood relatives. But the few I do, maybe I would go on this excursion for, my Aunt Sue.
We stand Aunt Sue.
Anywho, she comes across a man named Dmitri. Dmitri is a smooth-talking con artist who makes her think that she is the princess, the lost princess, and he can he can get her in front of the Grand Duchess and convince, or at least figure out if she truly is the lost princess and give her her family. Anya doesn't know if that's true, but it's a way to get to Paris. So she takes him up on his offer. They go on a lot of crazy adventures because, mwahaha, Christopher Lloyd is back in the plot. He plays Rasputin, a man in this film who is trying to kill every surviving member of the Romanov family. I could go into detail more about the movie. Please, Emma, for the love of God, watch the movie.
I'm sorry, I will.
Okay.
I've seen it. I saw it when I was very young, but I don't remember it. It's been like 15 years.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as Mulan. It's the same as She's the Man. A woman who will stop at nothing. And I realize that I'm a man, but almost every movie about men as the main characters does nothing to represent how I grew up or even who I am as a person. I relate so little to men because of my position in society as like a queer, non-binary, trans man.
Right.
So it's hard not to see myself in these films I saw as children where women just completely forsake everything they were given in order to create something new.
Right, so thoughts and reflections, that feels very relevant to your experience.
Yeah,
and it also strikes me as seeing somebody who has been identified as a woman.
Correct.
But against any will, because we don't have will as babies. Surprise. But like, the thing that's similar about her and the thing that's similar about any woman in that position of like, they're shirking traditional femininity.
Yeah.
They're escaping what is the bondage of traditional femininity, which I feel like, again, relevant.
Oh, completely relevant.
So I totally understand how you and probably a lot of other trans people would see themselves in those characters.
I think something that is a through line throughout my life is autonomy matters above all.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And the ability to create oneself despite circumstances is something I fought really hard for. I'm not saying I've never been given breaks in my life. The fact that I'm white, the fact that I live in Canada, the fact that I live in a time where I can pursue certain medical procedures and such with some degree of financial compensation is a privilege. But for the most part, I've really crafted my adult self on my own.
Right. So any character, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, that was it.
But any character that's exuding and asserting autonomy would be a character you see yourself in regardless of gender.
Yes, autonomy really matters to me above all.
Wow. That's profound.
Yes.
Okay, next.
Okay, next up, Venom. This is, okay.
I'm so excited for you to talk about Venom.
Yes, so Venom is a film starring Tom Hardy.
Another bi icon.
Yes, a bicon. Other than the fact that he's a gorgeous, amazing, beautiful man, I should let people know that in this movie, he is not a character that he's ever played before, to my knowledge. Eddie is a character that Tom Hardy plays with such gentleness this character is like pig-headed and can be strong and can be forceful for what he believes in, which is like justice and exposing the truth and speaking truth to power. He's a journalist. But this character is also like very gentle and kind and gives money to homeless people and talks to them, and it like doesn't just see them as a charity case, but like gets invested in their lives, becomes their friend, and not just for the purpose of his work, but because he sees them as equals. And he does that for all of the friends in his life. He makes a mistake at the beginning of the movie that he does have to pay consequence for. He loses his girlfriend, and throughout the film, he does have to rebuild a relationship with his ex-girlfriend and her new partner, which is really wonderful. Mm-hmm. But other than that, other than those beautiful, rare moments of gentle masculinity that we so rarely see,
especially in superhero films.
Yes. This movie is, to my knowledge, completely unique in the fact that it is about the love that an alien symbiote has for its human host and its complete willingness to cast aside its original mission of destroying Earth and being willing to wholly sacrifice its existence for the love of one human man.
A love story for the ages.
100%. And you, like, I very rarely want to give anything to the homophobes.
No.
But you do not even have to frame this in a romantic way. I think that that a love and humanity that is developed throughout this film is so beautiful. Love beyond gender, love beyond species, love without form, love without sex, love just for the sake of preserving goodness.
Which is the purest thing.
Yeah. Venom, see it.
And you know what? Okay, so, and Kai, thoughts and reflections. I don't know why I feel the need to state that this is the thoughts and reflections period.
I'm going to be doing that for you.
Thank God. Okay.
Thoughts and judgments.
Thoughts and judgments. Yes, Kai's will be thoughts and judgments. Kai made me see this movie, and I say made because I didn't want to see it. There was no part of me that was like, Venom, a movie I want to see and subject myself to.
With my human eyes.
With my human, very human, fragile eyes.
And ears.
And I am so glad that he did make me watch it, because it's probably out of all the superhero movies that have come out, all of the big franchise movies that have come out, Venom has to be one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Because
it was slightly irreverent in its humor, which I fucking love and will be here for that kind of humor forever. I also, just because I am such an avid movie watcher and because I've seen so many different kinds of films and so many films in general, I am bored to tears with tropes. Yeah. I am just bored to tears being like, okay, this is a movie, I'm coming in, I beat by beat know what is going to happen. That is less and less the case as I think movie making and television is coming into a new era with new ideas, and I know that is because we're giving more access to people outside of Hollywood. Thank you, Netflix. And that means that we are getting more voices of color, more queer voices, lots of things. To my knowledge, I don't know what the behind the scenes of this movie looks like. I don't know if there's a lot of queer people that were involved in the writing of this film. I don't know who wrote or directed this film, but it definitely subverted every expectation I had going into it.
Even, okay, I obviously am not the type to have sympathy. Oh, wait, never mind. Cops aren't the enemy in this film. Not really. I was about to say there's even sympathy on Eddie's part for cops, which there is at one point. There's a SWAT team. But what I think is really wonderful is when Venom is, like, taking over Eddie's body, Eddie is so adamant about not hurting anyone. Not hurting anyone that's undeserving. So there's some, I guess you would call them quote-unquote thugs. Like, just like some bald-headed white men that work for the evil corporation that barge into his house while Venom the symbiote is getting control of Eddie's body. And in this fight, Eddie is apologizing to these men because regardless of the fact that they broke into his house and clearly mean him harm, he doesn't want to subject them to torment. He doesn't want to allow Venom to eat them.
Which is incredibly sympathetic, which I will say surprises me how on board you are with that.
I mean,
because you're very much the same as me in the, like, eat the rich and, like, hold people accountable and all that stuff.
I am, but I think if you had leaned into the opposite for this character, if this character was like, holy shit, I have superpowers, gonna fuck up the world, that is some stereotypical masculinity I'm tired of. A man being so enthralled with this new super strength that he just wants to fuck up the world.
And that would then not make it a movie that reflects you in any way.
Yes, Eddie wants to do as little harm as possible, and at the end, he does let Venom eat someone who deserves it.
Oh my god, you're right! This movie has everything.
It does.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and this is bold because She's the Man is on this list.
That's true.
I would say, so far, out of everything you've described to me, this is a movie that I would agree reflects what I know of you.
Whoa, I think that is such a compliment.
Because there's soft masculinity.
Yeah.
There's subversion of tropes.
Yeah.
And there's, like, a platonic, pure love that conquers all.
Yeah.
That's very you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so thanks, Tom Hardy.
Thank you, Tom Hardy.
I say as if he wrote the film himself.
He did. Thank you, Tom Hardy. All right. Oh, I'm excited for the next one. What is the next on your list?
Mad Max Fury Road!
Woo, woo, woo.
Okay.
Another Tom Hardy pick.
Yes. Now, as you may definitely know, this is an action film.
Of course.
Something,
but so much more.
Something I obviously love. Mm-hmm. I could really talk up and down about what this movie does for me from the get-go of, like, the beginning chase sequence of Max trying to escape being enslaved, everything he will give to be autonomous, even if it is suffering, just to not be subjected into, like, not to be subject to another person's will and dominance. That's obviously a very beautiful through line between Max's character and Furiosa, and just the entire rebellion, the small, tiny rebellion that they create. But what I can really jump forward to is this movie does something I see so rarely, which is acknowledge and believe the pain and trauma inflicted on survivors without graphically showing the traumatic events or even speaking of them. Mm-hmm. By watching this movie, by existing in its world, you understand that the quote-unquote wives, the trophy wives of Immortan Joe are held captive, and they want nothing more than to be treated as people, not things. Mm-hmm. That's a running theme of just, like, we are not things. So that's obviously really beautiful and powerful, of, like, no one having to be subjected to a rape scene to understand that these women have been through so much and deserve to be free just by being who they are. Yeah. I also really adore the platonic friendship between Max and Furiosa, because it is born out of a begrudging truce and alliance for a mutual goal, and then eventually results in a ragtag crew, which is my favorite thing.
Which, yes, I'm trying to remember precisely what you said when describing this to me earlier.
I mean, I surely, made a comparison to Buffy, because it's being reluctantly put in a situation where you have to work with someone you don't like, but by the end you do like them.
Which is fun.
That's
a bit of a romantic comedy thing, isn't it?
Even so, like, the fact that it's, maybe that is what I value more than anything, is platonic friendships.
Working together, finding out that at the end you're not so different.
Yeah. There's no romance really in Power Rangers. There's no romance in there's a small romance in Mad Max Fury Road between Capable and Nux, but that's not super the point of the film. It's very
No,
I
it's not.
I
Yeah.
would say secondary to tertiary. Tertiary. So yeah, the Mad Max, I'm gonna assume most people have seen it. It's an incredible movie. It speaks to me as a survivor. Yeah, and it definitely speaks to me as someone with a human spirit that yearns for freedom.
That autonomy comes back up again.
The autonomy does conquer.
The whole movie seems to be a struggle for autonomy.
Yeah, and it's also a great example, like the message really being put on a plate of like, you don't have to want or get anything from a person romantically or sexually to be deeply invested in their well-being.
Oh. They're the PSA
Yeah.
to everybody out there. You don't have to be invested in somebody romantically or sexually to want them to succeed and to be invested in their well-being overall. Yeah, okay. Well, that was pretty good. Thoughts and reflections. I feel like I kind of said that before I said thoughts and reflections, but I'm letting you know now.
Yes.
Thoughts and reflections. I will just say, I'll just add that to me, again, this movie made a lot of sense. I said to you earlier, I recognize your sense of justice in this film. And I think one of the first
rapists.
kill your local rapist,
Yeah.
but don't blame us because we don't want to be held legally liable. Just in case. Just in case. But there is, well, when I first met you, this was a movie that came out and you got very obsessed with. And I remember seeing a few pictures of you dressed up as one of the War Boys. Yes, thank you. And it was just something that even when I didn't know you incredibly well, made perfect sense to me. Yay. Why you would be, because I think the first thing, if you ever have the privilege of meeting Kai, the first thing you will notice about him is his sense of justice. So it's like very evident in that film. So I totally get it.
That's super real. I take that as a huge compliment.
You should. Okay, so next, second to last.
So we got number 2 on the list, The Force Awakens. Now, this is something Emma was confused by.
I was confused by this one. I didn't know how this said anything about you.
Which is fair. Star Wars is a nonsense universe for babies.
True. Thank you, George Lucas.
Is that his name?
George Lucas, it is.
Okay, sorry. For a second, that sounded fake, but maybe I'm just...
This is my job. I know useless names. You know everything else.
Sure. So the thing about Star Wars is it was obviously something I grew up with. I feel like most people wouldn't enjoy Star Wars if they don't have that nostalgia factor.
I can confirm as I did not grow up with Star Wars and therefore did not enjoy any of the first films.
There you go. So it's just a matter of like, this is something that brings me to another world that is comforting to me. So that's one thing. The Force Awakens, once again, a movie with no romance.
Zero. Zilch. Except Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
I just had romance with Kylo Ren. It's fine.
Yeah, you as the viewer.
Yeah.
Us as the viewer get to examine Kylo Ren, and that's love.
Correct. Isn't it? I know nothing else.
So, obviously, if we're talking broad strokes, this movie did a lot of big things. It put a woman front and center in a Star Wars film. It stars a black man and a Latino man.
Ooh, Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. It did some really cool things, and, like, all of the villains are white, naturally.
Of course, and British, naturally.
Yes. So... yeah, it's obviously different for a Star Wars movie.
There's one British person. Sorry. Anyway, keep going.
It's fine. It's different for a Star Wars movie. Kylo Ren as a character had a big impact on me. For one, he had a shitty relationship with his dad. God, what a mood. And he also... I really don't want to be a Kylo apologist. I'm going to insert right here. I completely condemn his actions of slaughtering innocent people.
100%. We're not pro slaughtering innocent people on this podcast.
No. But as a villain, he does something for the Star Wars universe that is pretty unique. I'm not going to say Anakin never showed his emotions, but Hayden Christensen isn't that good at acting.
Hayden Christensen has the acting range of a baked potato.
Whereas Adam Driver... really incredible.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
If you let me go on Adam Driver, this podcast will become about Adam Driver. So let's just move on.
Yeah, okay.
Let's just move on.
Okay. Just, we're really into his acting abilities. And I felt very defensive of Kylo Ren as a character, not just in the way that you like something, you don't want people to shit on it. I felt defensive of him as a character because he introduced a type of character in the Star Wars universe in which he showed more than one emotion
Wow.
as a villain. And,
A concept.
and men really didn't like that. They would like call him a pussy or a wimp for crying.
I'm playing the world's smallest violin
Yeah.
for all the men complaining.
Yeah. I just being able to show a wide range of emotion as a character was pretty fucking cool. And also like showing his complex feelings towards his family mattered to me. It's a more intense and well done way than it's happened in the past. Palpatine, obviously you don't get his backstory, and thank God. And then Vader / Anakin, yeah,
We didn't need that backstory.
not really. We do see him grow up, but it's not as his acting. Hayden Christensen's acting,
And the writing was atrocious as well.
it's just not as well done. Kylo Ren, we see so little of his life, but understand so much of it through the way that Adam Driver can emote.
Yeah. And I feel like they almost watched the prequels or episode 1, 2, and 3 and said, okay, so this is what we're not going to do.
Yeah.
And then made this movie.
Yeah. And I think they did a bang up job. This ignited a creative spark in me that led me to write again. I started writing fan fiction. I participated in NaNoWriMo, National Writing Month, which is November. For the first time once this movie came out in 2015. It got me into the novelizations because I wanted to learn about the character that Kylo Ren was based on. And now it's created for me like a space where I understand enough about the Star Wars universe that slipping into any Star Wars property, whether it be The Mandalorian or a random comic book I find at the library that's Star Wars, those things provide a comfort for me now where I'm so deeply familiar with this world that it's scratching that nostalgia itch, but it's also just creating a safe space for me.
Which is what these movies, in my opinion, should be doing.
Yeah, I think I could watch The Force Awakens just over and over and over. That chemistry between Finn and Poe.
Oh my god. Yeah, and okay, so thoughts and reflections. 100%. Also, too, I can't help but love the connection between Kai and Kylo. I can't help but just absolutely adore that.
Yep.
And I feel like this is one of the characters that we can both love equally.
Ooh.
And you can't drag me for it.
That's true.
Because I'm trash and have an affinity for darker characters, which I'll explain more in my episode. But Kylo, 100% being emotive and dealing with the darker aspects of one's personality, specifically yours in this context of like the sadder things that have happened, the way you deal with that grief, the way you deal with the darker emotions, the anger, that kind of stuff. There's part of me that is a little bit angry that the most nuanced character and the best performance goes to the only white dude in this film.
Yes.
Or not the only white dude, but the only white protagonist male in this film, because Daisy Ridley's obviously white. But it's also undeniably what it is. Like, it's also undeniably just a fact of this film that it is one of the most, and I mean, a lot of critics felt this way about Kylo Ren as well. And again, that is not something that you usually align with.
No.
You don't usually align with critic opinion, aka my opinion, on these things. But I think that speaks to the undeniable nuance and power that Adam Driver brought to this already pretty well-written character.
Hell yeah.
And I really find it touching. I don't know why, but it's like very vulnerable for you to confess that. And I find it touching that you love Kylo so much.
Thank you. I mean, like, there's so much to be said about a well-written villain.
100%.
We don't always get enough of that. Even I'll say that Venom's weakest point is its villain. Sorry, Riz Ahmed. Like,
and Riz Ahmed, I can't love more. Like,
Yeah.
I fucking adore Riz Ahmed as an actor, as a person, and yeah, unfortunately,
he plays an Elon Musk character, and
which a villain, no
yes,
doubt.
obviously a villain, but I just simply, it's not. You can't compare the two. You can't.
And there's an issue with him being the person of color in the film and being the villain.
Correct.
Like, that's an issue, and that's something that we'd be remiss to overlook as white people ourselves.
Yeah, he's a brilliant actor, but that part was not written for anyone.
Yeah.
I was about to say it was not written for him. That part that was not an outlandish enough character. That character didn't really shine enough on the, like, what would you even say? The most sinister aspects of capitalism and venture capitalism. Like, it does poke holes, or like it prods the bear in a way of being like, haha, we get it, you're funding space progress, but you're actually killing homeless people.
Yeah.
Like, I get that, but you could serve to be so much more overt about it.
Yeah, and if the character was written more in the vein of Kylo, then it would have been still, yes, a villainous character for Riz Ahmed to play, which I'm not saying people of color can't play villains, obviously.
No, but there should probably be a hero of color to mirror that.
Precisely. It's like maybe we can dish out villainous characters to people of color when we start dishing out hero roles for them as well, in equal measure at least.
Yeah.
But if it was written more like Kylo Ren, then it would have been more deserving of Riz Ahmed as an actor.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And yeah, just to speak to the other men in that film, like, obviously Poe fucking rules.
Yeah.
Like, Finn and Poe developing such a vulnerable, and eager friendship.
Yeah.
Just two dogs yapping at each other, happy to see each other.
Yeah.
Is a really beautiful thing, because they assume to be enemies, but Poe takes what Finn has to say at face value immediately, gives him a name, gives him a cause, gives him his jacket. Like,
love it. Yeah. So again, a theme for you and how this probably reflects you again is its commentary on masculinity, and it's subverting the ideas of toxic closed mouth masculinity, closed mouth in it being no emotions, words, communication styles that express how you might be feeling. Very good.
All
right, so this brings us to your number one pick, even though I'm guessing this wasn't in a specific order on purpose.
It wasn't really, but Assassination Nation does deserve to be at the top.
Assassination Nation, the only film we have crossover on.
Yes.
This also made my list, but we'll get to that in the next episode. Hey there, listeners. This is Editing Emma, just interjecting for a minute. I wanted to throw out a quick trigger warning for me and Kai's conversation on Assassination Nation. For the most part, it's one of the better conversations I feel like we've had. It's really interesting, and I'm really thankful for Kai's vulnerability and perspective. But there's a lot of talk about, like, sex in this next segment, which if you're okay with, then please proceed. But I just wanted to throw out a quick trigger warning, because I know that subject, when talked in depth about, can be kind of upsetting. So let's get back to the podcast. You've been warned. So tell us about Assassination Nation.
Okay, so Assassination Nation is an incredible film that most people haven't seen.
Same creator, Sam Levinson, I believe is his name, who did Euphoria with Zendaya.
Yes. Huge. Just an incredible creator. I honestly don't know how Sam does it, how he writes trans characters so well. I assume he consults with trans people.
And, like,
any
all women.
Yes.
Any women, regardless, yeah.
He writes women incredibly well.
It's shocking.
It's incredible. I mean, I do not wish this, knock on wood, but it would make more sense if he stole the work of a woman than wrote it himself.
Yeah, it truly would.
But anyway, so Assassination Nation is a film about a lot of things.
So many things.
But
Where did it begin?
Yeah, but essentially about the lives of 4 teenage girls. Specifically, the main two are Lily and Bex. Bex is a trans woman.
Can we please just... Oh my god, Hari Nef. Oh my god, my girlfriend, Hari Nef. Yep.
Yep. So it focuses mostly on Bex and Lily. Now, Lily is a cis girl, and she is in a relationship with a mystery man that we pretty much only know as Daddy on her phone. They're probably in their last year of high school. They're in a school with plenty of gossip, plenty of rumors. People are sending nudes. It's the way that teenagers are.
It's very millennial cultural. That's another thing. He wrote millennials incredibly well,
Yes.
or Gen Zers incredibly well.
Yes, just the way that we see like social media as another limb, like an extension of ourselves that we can't separate from, and just at our fingertips, a tool in order to communicate with our peers that we would feel so cut off from without. But aside from all of that brilliant filmmaking, it is worth noting that this film takes place in like a slightly more hyper-violent world, a la Quentin Tarantino in some ways.
Yeah, there are some kind of direct shout-outs, I feel like, to Quentin Tarantino in this film.
Yeah, but the movie pretty much starts with, this is the absolutely incredibly like fucked up and true story of how an entire town of Salem, Massachusetts went fucking crazy and tried to kill a group of teenage girls.
Right.
Some really powerful lines in that film, although I'm not quoting verbatim. One of them is, you'd be surprised how many men that see you naked will try and find you and kill you.
Oh my god, yeah.
And things like that. So, long story short, Lily's nudes get leaked, and so does all of her conversations with this quote-unquote daddy figure, who turns out to be a man in her neighborhood that she used to babysit the child of. Now, obviously, this should reflect poorly on the pedophile who is fucking a teenager.
100%.
But that's not what happens. This entire town is turned against the quote-unquote sluts who are being revealed with these widespread massive nude leaks that are happening in Salem. There are people dressing up in masks, taking up guns. The local police force is in on it and are refusing to enforce the law. They believe that Lily herself is the one releasing this information, and that she is sabotaging like powerful people in Salem. And as a result, a mob gets turned against her, where a bunch of men in the town break into her friend's house after she's been kicked out of her own house, and do everything they can to fucking kill her and her friends.
As you do.
For being a woman. A woman who was naked once.
How dare.
A woman who was naked once and was preyed on by a man.
See, I, for one, tend to cover my eyes when I step into the shower.
Yes.
And I do the entire shower until I get my towel on with my hand in front of my eyes, because I don't
acknowledge nudity.
I don't acknowledge nudity on myself or anyone else.
Yeah.
It's not the place of a woman to be nude.
Okay. So, I've explained the plot of the film, but that's not really what gets me about this film. And it's surprisingly not even necessarily the arc of the transgender character that gets me, because I'm not a trans woman. Bex is a trans woman.
Totally different journey.
It's completely different. Yeah. Bex is a trans woman who has to deal with not being closeted. Her arc isn't that people misgender her or try and, like, out her in any way. Like, people know she's trans, and for the most part people are cool with it, except when it comes to sex and love. Men are not willing to admit their attraction to her because they're afraid it shows some sort of homosexuality on their point, which they see as a huge diss to their masculinity. So a popular man in school, or rather a boy, a football player, fucks her in private and asks her to keep it a secret because he knows the shame this will bring on him and of the shame he will feel for being attracted to her. That's a trans story I understand, but I'm not a trans woman, so that's not the journey I went through.
Right.
Because trans women face so much more violence. Bex, spoiler alert, at one point Bex is literally attempted to be lynched.
Yeah.
And just absolutely humiliated for being trans. And for...
But never misgendered in the film.
Which is an interesting choice. I appreciate that, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
No. So what gets me the most about this film is it captures a time in my life where I felt probably the most intense sexualized misogyny in my life.
Right.
I didn't come out as trans until I was 18, and even then I still struggled a lot with dating, sex, and my gender. I was still functionally being treated as a woman in almost every aspect of my life. And from the time I was... Oh, I actually don't think I came out until I was 19, actually. So from the ages of 17 to 21, I'd say, I felt a lot. Every brick of pressure that is put on a quote-unquote woman to be a sex object. To be someone that doesn't think about their orgasm, their body, their pleasure, or even if they want sex, but to think about how to contort yourself in the shape that is something a man wants, something that a man will consume in order to get what you might want, which is love and affection. So, in a way, this movie really captures, like, not only the intense sexualized misogyny that's put on women and how men will literally kill you for it, but also the position that women are in the first place to not even consider themselves people.
Yeah.
To consider themselves things for men. And the only part of their humanity that they're willing to acknowledge is that they want the attention, affection, and validation of a man once they are given what they are wanted. Once a man is given what they're wanted, which is sex.
Right.
So this movie captures a very painful period of my life, as well as explains things about my compulsive hypersexuality in my youth, as well as my asexuality now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as far as... I don't know, so we could just edit this out if you don't if you don't want to talk about it.
I probably do.
Okay, so I'm just curious because what you articulated to me when we talked about this before about how it relates to your asexuality or helps describe your asexuality, I found really interesting.
Do you want me to use the metaphor of where sex is between me and a man?
Whatever way you feel comfortable describing it.
I'll try. I'll
Okay.
see if I can be as eloquent as I was before. So, I think if you were trying to describe to a man what it's like to be sexualized, he may imagine 3 points in which a man who desires a woman is at one end of a spectrum and a woman who desires a man is at the other end of the spectrum, and in between them is the possibility of sex.
Right.
I would say what society does is society takes that middle point of the possibility of sex and slides it all the way into a woman, turning her into a cadaver that is skewered.
Oh my God, wow.
She is not separate from the concept of sex. She is sex. She is a sex object, and that possibility of sex is not a possibility. It is an inevitability and something a man is entitled to. These are not things we articulate consciously, and even in a consent-conscious world, we often can, and I say we as people who are treated as women, and that can be anyone, that can be trans women, that can be non-binary people, that can be AFAB people, that can be cis women. Unfortunately, society sucks for a lot of us.
It does.
Society sucks for a lot of us non-cis men. So yeah, even in a consent-conscious world where we tell ourselves like, oh, you know, get verbal consent, get non-verbal consent of like making sure this person is enjoying this. it doesn't change how deeply you get brainwashed into believing you want what a man wants.
Oh my God, that's so real. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, you convince yourself, I want to look sexy all of the time, even though this is clearly what a man wants from me in order to imagine fucking me more graphically.
Right.
Like, I convince myself I want to do this painful sex act for his pleasure because it makes me feel good, aka he gives me praise for doing something that I'm not comfortable with. Like, wow. The movie Assassination Nation shows you all the ways that women are punched into a box and contort themselves to be the shape of what a man wants.
Wow. That's potent. That's incredibly powerful. And yeah, I mean, I definitely relate to that. Thoughts and reflections.
Yeah, let's hear it.
When we were talking about this earlier, was saying how, like, I felt all of those things step by step, exactly how you described, but what I chose to do with it was completely reject dating and men and any of it. I just completely stepped back and was like, this is so overwhelming and so not how I want to be perceived, not how I want to feel. This is so demeaning and demoralizing to me that I'm just going to have absolutely fuck all to do with it, and hence why I've never been in a relationship. I mean, there's more reasons as to why I've never been in a relationship that I sure can explore in different episodes, but, like, that is such a seminal metaphor and context to put it in. Like, that is so, yeah, that whole idea of, like, how you get skewered into, you don't get to be separate from sex. You are sex. You embody sex for cis heterosexual men, and that is your job, and that is your purpose, and that is something that I think so many people feel viscerally. On the context of asexuality, I thought it was interesting when we spoke earlier how you said basically how you contextualize sex now is kind of like I still use it to get what I want.
Yes.
Like, it relates so closely. Like, it's not something that I personally am invested in.
Yeah.
But I still know I've just been taught it's a muscle, it's a reflex that this is how I get what I want. So it's like continually a part of, it's something that you find you can't unlearn.
Yes. I can try and discuss this for people that are still listening. So for those of you who are still listening,
who are still on board with us right now,
to our long ass rant, this may be the end of us talking about Assassination Nation, but this is going to be a real good nugget of explaining how you can be a sexually active asexual.
And this is why I think it's very important.
Yeah. So as a result of being skewered with the idea,
that is so a thing now.
Yes.
Yes. With
the idea of sex, I find it interesting that you felt you could reject it because I didn't think it was something separate from me. So good on you.
I thought that the only way to reject it, though, was by literally hiding my physical body away from the world.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do think I remember how I explained this, but everything is scary until the first time you do it. So having sex for money is a scary thought, sex work, until the first time you do it. And then it's just an option.
Right.
Doing your taxes is scary the first time you do it, and then it's done, and then you know how to do it. And when I was younger, and I learned how to have satisfying sex, it stopped bothering me as a concept. And what I got from that interaction was, one, a happy partner. If you care about your partner and you like to see them happy and they like sex, it's a muscle you can use to get them to a place where you also get something, which is love, affection, attention, validation, cuddling, if that's what you're looking for. And even today, it doesn't... having sex with people doesn't mean the same thing for me as it does to allosexual people who feel sexual attraction. That's not to say I'm being coerced into it or that I want to live in a world where sex doesn't exist. It's just a matter of saying, like, sex is an A to B to C option that I don't think has any more or less moral value than being a part of a capitalist transaction. Like, capitalism sucks, but we live in a world where we don't see it as immoral to be at a job that you don't like in order to get money to live or do something you like go on vacation.
Right.
And I have a job I like, which is crazy because I certainly don't dream about labor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a simple job where I talk to people and I just get to rearrange clothing racks, and I have nice coworkers. And
you know how to do it.
Yeah, I know how to do it. It's a muscle to flex, and it gets me what I want, which is money that I can do what I want with. And having sex with a partner that I love and feel comfortable with will get me what I want, which is an endorphin rush for them and for me, and some love and affection and validation.
Right. And I think that that's a really, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really important perspective that so many people have trouble wrapping their heads around, especially where we don't talk about asexuality, aromanticism, not even kind of enough.
Yeah.
I mean, not even in the queer community, let alone the human community, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's just important to understand. And I know, obviously, that there's so many people who identify with being asexual who have very different feelings on the subject. And, you know, I think it's just important to hear all the different perspectives.
Yeah, and I actually will relate this to Assassination Nation in a way that it kind of describes my asexuality. And I'm not saying Lily is asexual, but I think it would completely make sense if you saw a sequel to that movie in which Lily was asexual or a lesbian. Lesbians even go through this stage of not all lesbians, but there are some women who love women that unfortunately go through a phase of only seeing themselves through a male gaze and what they can give to men, and without thinking about what they want, what they actually want.
Hashtag very relatable. Yeah.
Yes, and Lily is a character that, what is she even getting from this daddy relationship? She's not getting money. She's not getting that much of anything. She's not getting sexual pleasure. She's not asking him to do anything for her other than validate her, love her when she feels worthless, when she's being mistreated by her shitty boyfriend, by her parents, by the world at large. She just wants to feel taken care of, and she, in order to do that,
there's an exchange.
Yeah, there's an exchange of making herself whatever this man wants.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, wow. I think that's very suiting to finish this episode.
Yeah.
Time will pass for y'all, the listener, but none for us when we next do my top 10 movies to know me.
Watch Emma get roasted.
I'm going to get dragged. Kaya is going to stop being my friend, and it's going to be very dramatic. Stay tuned.
No.
Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time. That's a smooth transition out.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.